Alright, here we are at part 2 of credit scores and what are the determining factors. So as you remember from our previous video, we talked about the 5 different factors of credit scoring. In this particular video, we're going to capture the outstanding debt or the total amounts owed category. You'll hear a couple different names on it, but in a nutshell, it's the amount of debt you owe and different variations of that. This is 30% of the credit score, so it's a pretty big chunk. It's the second largest chunk that the FICO scoring model actually looks at. And here's pretty much how it works. So first off, with credit cards, the amount you owe on those credit cards can significantly affect your credit, and it's one of the easiest ways to fix your credit by just paying down your credit cards. The way that the model works is it looks at a combination of what are your balances or your utilization ratios. So basically, they take the balance on a credit card and they divide that into the limit on the credit card. And that's your utilization ratio. So basically, if you have a $100 limit on a credit card and you've spent $10 on it, you've got a $10 balance, you are 10% utilized. The higher that number gets, the closer you get to maxed out, the more it hurts your credit score. And it looks at a combination of each individual credit card and how maxed out and high utilization ratio on each individual credit card, but it also looks at the cumulative ratio. So it looks at all your cards, all your balances, and all your limits, and looks at that as a factor too. So it doesn't really work to just spread out your debt amongst every card because it's all going to be kind of factored the same way. So you really want to pay it down. And another thing is you don't want too many balances on too many accounts because the more different accounts with balances you have, that can actually hurt you. So keep it minimal. I tell people use your cards every 6 months. Even if you don't like credit cards, you don't like to use them every 6 months. The reason you do that is they'll stay open and active. You don't want a creditor to shut down your credit card because you haven't been paying it or because you haven't had a balance on it or anything. And then you lose all that credit history because that'll eventually fall off your credit report. So keep them open, keep them active, and most importantly, don't close your existing credit cards. Once they're open, the damage is done. It's good to have about 3 credit cards. That's the ideal spot that the model looks at. And when you close them, you still benefit from that history, but when it falls off, it can totally kill the average age of your credit file because you lose 10, 20, 30 years of history there. Also, when you close a credit card account, that available limit you have all of a sudden goes away, and so that kills your utilization ratio because you lose all of this available balance. So if you do the math there and think about it really hard, you can figure it out that it's really going to hurt you in a couple different ways. Fourth thing on there, pay off before your closing date or your balance date on your credit card statement, because typically credit card companies, they'll report to the credit bureaus once a month, and if you pay it off after the time that they report, it's still going to be reported as a balance and it won't get updated until the next month. So especially if you're going to be applying for credit, you want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on when they report to the bureaus and make sure you have everything paid off before that. Final thing, authorized user. This is a great trick. Basically, you can find a parent or a family member or someone like that that can add you on as an authorized user to their credit card. And what that'll do is that'll report to your credit as if it were your account. You'll benefit from all the good payment history, the high limits, the low balances, all the history, everything. So it's a great tool, especially if you're trying to build credit. Credit limits, I tell people ask your issuers for credit limit increases. Why not? That'll help your ratios. If you do have to carry a balance, keep it as low as possible before 20%. And check over your reports. Make sure that the actual credit limits are being reported accurately. Sometimes the creditors will gyp you and not report them accurately, or they'll just report the high balance that you've ever had. That'll hurt your ratios. The utilization ratio we talked about can get hurt because of that. I always tell people keep your credit separate from your spouse. If you ever need to, you can transfer all your debt to one spouse and get a credit increase because your debt disappeared. Plus, it just gives you more purchasing power than if you have everything joint. You can still treat everything as if it were joint, but keep it separate. It's going to help you in the long run. Just trust me on this one here. Business credit, you can utilize it. The reports don't distinguish personal from business. It's a great way to build credit. Or sometimes you can get business credit cards that won't actually report to your credit, so you can transfer your balances to those cards and get it off your personal credit report. That'll help your ratios. Finally, FICO does talk a little bit about the total debt that's owed. So if you have 30 mortgages, it's going to obviously hurt you more than if you have 1 or 2. And also they talk about installment loans. If you can pay down the balances on installment loans, it shows that you handle credit. They say that. I've never really seen that help, but just another thing to keep in mind. So that's a real quick overview. Watch it again if you need to,